my name is Lauren Mendelsohn, the host of Our Strength Within, where I am inviting people to share their story. As you all know, I struggle with an invisible illness, and I invited Jamisha here today to share what she goes through and tell us a little bit about you and what you go through. So yeah, so welcome.
Thank you. Honestly, this is probably my first podcast ever. I've talked about it a tremendous amount of times, doing different kind of things, but I think what you're doing is so important because a lot of people, for whatever reason, think that they have to suffer silently, right? Or that they go through these things alone, and it's not true.
So tell us a little bit about you and how you got here. We met through what we do for work. We're very passionate. We're partnered with New York Life. And we were sitting there one day at Starbucks, and we're just getting to know each other. How long have we known each other?
A little over a year.
A little over a year now. And I've never asked her about her. Like, one thing I'll challenge all of you is if you have a friend or someone you work with and you haven't asked them why they do what they do or what makes you you, you totally should. Because we had a conversation. It went from work to like all of a sudden we're talking about what we go through every day. And it's led to this. So tell me a little bit about you and then what you're going through.
I can go a little bit everywhere with this, but I don't know. I'm a mom of 3. Of course, busy. Like in this industry, there's no like, especially in the beginning of it, there's no downtime, if you will. Yeah. So I'm a very busy mom of 3. My kids are young, so 7, 5, and 3. Wow. And then of course my niece lives with me, so I do help out a lot with that.
So a mom of 4.
Basically. So for me, a lot of why I felt it important to be here is because I had a lot of different things that I had been silently suffering with. And that I honestly was unaware that I was suffering with, if you will. So a lot of what I went through was abuse, domestic abuse, and that took a huge strain on my mental.
How long were you dealing with that in silence?
It honestly took a lot of awareness to even admit that I was dealing with it because, you know, people look at me and they're like, you're such a strong, independent woman. You're powerful.
Lovable and friendly always, and it's fun.
Right? And I'm just like, you know, I'm very, I've always been the mom of the group. I always used to be like, oh, I wish someone would type of situation, right? Yeah. And then I learned to stop saying that because someone actually had the audacity to challenge me as a person and as a woman and take me out of character. And I've never allowed that happen before. But so I
wish someone would.
We usually say it a different way, but I'm being nice about it. Yeah. But so for me, you know, I have ADHD.
Okay.
That's no fun within itself. I refuse to be medicated because...
Was it officially diagnosed?
Yeah, like way back when.
So the other day I was sitting with someone and they told me they want my head to be clear so they could see what goes on in my brain.
What?
And I'm like, I don't know what goes on in my brain, but it makes sense for me. So I'm not diagnosed, but they think I am.
I mean, so it's probable, but so ADHD, right?
Yeah.
And ADD it's all in the same.
Okay.
But I guess they differentiate it because some people are more hyperactive and some people just get distracted.
Okay.
Right? So honestly, ADHD is a superpower if you learn how to like utilize it because you can handle multiple things and take in multiple
especially with 4 kids,
directions of information. Like I can hear what's going on downstairs and I can see what's going on with the trees over there while talking to you and take all of it in. The problem is like very easily like, oh, squirrel. Oh, what were you talking about? You know? And so I've dealt with that all my life, right? And it was difficult because, you know, growing up, all my grades in school were like average grades.
Okay.
And like, I'd be sitting with my parents and listen, don't get me wrong. My parents are phenomenal parents. Like I'm very much a daddy's girl. Yeah. And my mom, it took me some time because, you know, girls, we butt heads, but you know, my mom's also very supportive, but growing up, it was a struggle with me because they'd be like, oh, you don't have a problem with X, Y, and Z, right? Like, to me, I don't know if it's an African-American culture thing or if it's a Caribbean culture thing, right? Because I have to identify with both of them being in the States.
Okay, yeah.
They don't accept that.
Yeah.
So ADHD is not a thing. It's just an excuse.
Okay.
Right? And so just try harder, work
I
harder.
think it's more common nowadays to talk more about it.
Yeah, it's everybody's more open about it. Well, more so because like you can't ignore it anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Being in the household you grew up in, like, were you surrounded by love? Is it what your household looks like now? Like, you spoke about how you struggle in silence. Mm-hmm. So what does that look like?
So it's interesting because, like, okay, so my struggle in particular with the domestic abuse piece, right? Mm-hmm. I was with my kid's father for essentially 5 years. It was really off and on. Probably a total of 3.5, 4 years on completely. And
sounds like a roller coaster within itself.
Oh my God, you have no idea. The first date, whatever you want to call it, was like fantastic, right? Mm-hmm. Great conversation. The food was amazing. I'm a foodie. Okay. Like, you can get me the food any day. And so he is very much like a car salesman. And the reason I say that is like, he will feed you every wish, hope, and dream. And it all sounded great. Mm-hmm. And like, when we would talk about his ex, right? Because he has an ex-wife. Okay. So when we would talk about her, he made it seem like she was always the problem and downed her really bad. Oh, she was lazy. She was this. I paid for everything and she wouldn't even cook, clean, this, that, and the third. And there's plenty of time. Like, he downed her so bad. Oh, my house was always a mess. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, if you're working 12-hour days, yep. Manual labor, because he did, like granite and stuff like that, did different service stuff. And, you shouldn't be coming home to that. So fast forward, I learned it couldn't have been her.
Jamisha, kind of take me back to when you realized that you were suffering in silence. Like, how do you feel like if people like you or have maybe either not come to the realization or are scared to talk about it? Like, what advice would you give to them?
Oh my gosh. Therapy, I think, is what took me out of it. Advice is to always be aware, right? And not to make excuses for anything or anyone. There's multiple forms of abuse. Okay. Right? And so for me, I was to a point where I realized I was so stressed that I was literally ready to commit myself to somewhere, mm-hmm. right? Like, hey, let me call the hotline, but like, listen, I'm ready to harm myself and others. And I've never, right? I'm a very Christian woman, or spiritual woman. I don't.
Did you have kids at that time?
Yeah. Okay. All three of them. No. Was all three of them? Yeah, all three of them were there by then. Okay. So it was shortly after I purchased my house. Me and him purchased a house. Hindsight, craziest thing I ever did. It made no sense, right? And he had already kind of shown me his true colors. The problem is I love deeply and I always give chances because I fully believe that people can change and become better.
You know what I learned the other day, or someone said to me, like, I've always known this, but kind of said it beautifully, is trust is earned.
Yes.
And a lot of people who are trusting had to give it without thinking about what could happen.
Yeah. So I do trust first, but I'll trust like a little bit. Yeah. Right? I may not trust you with all of my life, but I'll trust a little bit. And then like, if you take away from that, then it's kind of hard to bring it back. Yeah. But fast forward with him, I didn't realize the different levels of abuse I was going through. Okay. So after we purchased the house, I realized like literally everything fell on me. He was very much the type of person that like, when he wanted it, he would run out somehow. Money would basically like fall in his lap. A job would come from nowhere, or he would go and find the work, and then next thing you know, bam, $5,000 for the deposit we need, or whatever the case may be, right? Once we purchased the house, he like really sat back like he had nothing to do, right? And he'd be like, oh, I'm advertising, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Well, all he was trying to do was advertise on Facebook. Fast forward, all the financial burdens literally fell in my lap. Oh, wow. So
what was that like? Like being a mom, all the financial pressure, also the abuse, like, was it verbal abuse at the beginning?
Let me tell you, okay. It was verbal abuse, it was financial abuse, it was mental abuse, it was sexual abuse. Mm. And the physical piece of the abuse, it was never like punching me black eyes in the face. It was like roughhousing or shoving or...
something that people couldn't visibly see.
Easily, right? I'm not a person that bruises, right? Like we had a previous altercation before we even purchased the house. Like I left him for a year.
Oh, okay.
And
so what brought you back? Like people who struggle with that, I know it's crazy, but it's like, and when I say this, I'm not questioning you. I just want people to realize who go through that. Like, why are you going back? Is it because the time went on and you kind of forgot what broke you up?
So for me personally, I will say that I've learned of myself. My mind does tend to forget the traumas.
Yeah.
But for me, it's because I can see the good inside someone and hope for the best, right? Love is blind, but I think hope is blinder.
You live in optimism. Maybe that's the thing.
Maybe I'm too optimistic. But also, like, they say to trust someone's actions, not their words, right? Like, if it really, truly, if someone shows you how they are, then believe them. And I took that with a grain of salt as opposed to fully taking what it was. We had been through a couple obstacles, right? And I saw him make very minute changes, but he also was very good. He's a narcissist. Yeah. Very good at convincing me that he was going to do something, change something, and he would change for 1 week, 2 weeks. The longest I've seen him change for is like 2 months, 3 months, right? Okay. But his cycle was 2 weeks to 2 months. And so he would change, and I'm like, okay, we're good. Life is going to be fine. And then he'd revert right back to it. Ugh. There was drugs involved, like...
So how'd you keep your kids away from what you were going through? Like, were they aware? I mean, they were young.
So my kids specifically were super young. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much of it they absorbed or observed either way, right? I felt most convicted for his daughter because she was like 6.
From the previous marriage.
Yeah. And seeing a lot of it. Right? The holes in the door that he's punching, the trash cans that's being kicked over, there's donuts flying across the room, like the screaming, the yelling. And I'm like, bro, like the kids are right here. I didn't grow up in any of that. Right? I grew up, my parents are still married.
Oh, wow. How long have they been married?
They've been married. So they legally got married when I was 10, but they've been together since before I was born.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm about to be 37. They've been together at least 37, 38 years. Right?
My parents just hit their 29th anniversary.
That's beautiful.
So, yeah. But they always don't... They always said, like, we're not going to argue in front of you.
My parents... I promise to God, I never, ever saw my parents argue. Wow. Especially growing up. Even if they had, like, a small disgruntled agreement. And, like, I noticed... As I got older, I realized they'll disappear, like, in a room. But, like, I never knew that they were arguing or having a disagreement or nothing.
Did they... When you were going through this, did you go to them for advice? Or was it more of like a private thing where you were struggling in silence?
So I don't tell my parents everything, but I will say, for example, in the moments that I had to run away from wherever I was, I would mention certain things. Okay. Like I left him the first time because I found out he was doing coke. And I'm like, bro, this is not okay. And so he's like, oh, okay, I can quit it. It's fine. Da, da, da. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's how that works. I was going to move out and everything, but I just couldn't afford to go to a place else.
If people are watching that are going through something like what you're describing, like what advice would you give them?
I would say be aware, right? First, self-awareness, right? And ask yourself, why am I allowing these things? Or what is it that I'm accepting? Because it wasn't until I went through therapy or got to a point where, okay, someone is like, hey, here's a therapist. I started talking with my therapist, Lynn Kelly, amazing. Okay. And she's like, she asked me that question, why are you allowing this? And that's when like I woke up. So what happens is when you're going through stuff like that, you end up in like a little bit of a trance. Okay. And you don't realize you're there. So what I would say is to first be aware, right? Especially in the beginning phases. There's always signs.
What were some signs to you?
For me, it was one, he was really highly bashing his baby moms, like his ex-wife. Like that should have been sign number one. Okay. Like he not once took accountability for anything he did. Okay. And 2, he did end up sharing with me a story of one time they got into it, and come to find out her story is actually worse than mine. Like he was black-eyeing her. And she just didn't have the cojones to go and do something about it. She left, but not to file anything. Fast forward, like he did tell me of an incident when they got into it. Oh, she slapped me and I snapped back. But all of this started because he came home and there was no dinner. And she was home all day with the baby. And so from my understanding, like hearing stories like that, you have to take heed. Granted, people make mistakes, right? This is my problem. Oh, people make mistakes. That doesn't mean that's who they are. Well, sometimes it does.
Yeah.
And at minimum, I'm not saying walk away from someone because they made a mistake, but be fully aware. And then notice the signs when they're there. Quick to anger.
Okay.
Any signs of manipulation, right? Especially when like you can see different controlling features. Like if I brought him or if he brought me a plate of food, just simply like it could be that I cooked, but he brought me the plate of food. If I didn't say thank you, he'd be like, thank you. My bad, thank you. And it was a huge thing for him. Now, don't get me wrong. For some people, that could be like, oh, it's just manners. But no, he was like, there's a lot of things he was very particular about.
Okay, where you are now and today, right? Going through all the legal stuff and stuff like that. And people are, let's just say people are transitioning like you are. What advice would you give yourself 5 years ago now that you know what you've gone through?
Don't settle.
Okay.
Don't accept people's long excuses, if you will, right? Just because all of this, you really genuinely have to look at someone's actions and don't go backwards. There's no reason that you break up with someone 3 times and go back with them 3 times. An ex is an ex for a reason.
When I was watching something the other day, I was watching another video, it said, people forget why they initially broke up.
Yeah, they do.
So if you go back to that person, remind yourself why you broke up.
Yeah, so, but also you have to 100% love yourself. I really think that's a fundamental thing that people take for granted. Be okay with being alone and becoming aware of some of the things that you yourself are triggered by or struggled with as a child, or maybe you need to heal from, right? So I'm very thankful for someone in particular that's in my life that I've grown tremendously because he became like a reflection for me in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Never judging, but I became aware that I have an issue with trust. But not only do I have an issue with trust, I have an issue with trusting myself because I made so many terrible decisions in the past with loved ones, right? Yeah. But also look at your own patterns. If you have X amount of exes, right? And some of them are very similar, you have to pick a time in life and stop, pause, and simply reflect. Give yourself a year at minimum of deep dive reflections. Yeah. So believe people, 1, on who they say they are. 2, ask yourself, what is it genuinely that you want in life?
Okay.
What do you want for yourself? If you have kids, what do you want for your kids? What does that role model look like? You know what I mean? Not just of yourself, but what does the structure look like?
So I'll ask you, like, as a mom, like, what do you want for your kid?
I want my kids to be... I want them to be free to be themselves, but to understand discipline and structure and balance. I want them to be successful, which I don't know any parent who doesn't want their kids to be successful, right? But I also want them to be a little bit more aware of themselves and other people. Don't fall victim to, and don't play victim, but also don't fall victim to the manipulations of the world. Don't think you have to be cookie cutter because that's just what society wants you to feel. Yeah. But don't be afraid to be yourself respectfully. Mm-hmm. And I had to learn that the hard way. But also, when you don't accept yourself and you don't love yourself wholeheartedly, you allow people to kind of come in and kind of do what my ex did, right? You allow people to come in and treat you badly and you accept it. Part of my issue was I dimmed my light a lot for people, and therefore what my friends say, I dated beneath me. Mm-hmm. And so because people that I actually genuinely were attracted to, in a sense, I'm so attracted to intellect, bright minds.
A lot of us are. I think as women,
so sexy.
I think confidence and intellect is a big thing.
It is.
So yeah.
But for me, it used to intimidate me.
Well, listen, now I'm going to remind you to never settle.
Oh, ever.
And like, I think as a woman, having friends, men or women,
that hold you accountable.
They keep you accountable.
Yeah.
I think so. Last episode, I talked about support systems. So I think just to wrap everything up is that people need to identify their support system. Mm-hmm. Not even for like epilepsy, people following up with medication, but hey, if I need something, I need someone that I can trust, that I can go to without judgment, then can give you insight.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing. I want to have more people on and talk like you because this is very important to me for you to share your story.
Yeah.
I'm creating this platform to bring comfort to people who are struggling with invisible illness, going through something like suffering in silence with domestic abuse. And so you're so strong, you're a great mom. And one thing I think is you're coming to speak about it because you don't want your kids to suffer in silence.
Right.
And you want to show the world how strong you are and just want to give back to the community. So, yeah.
Definitely. I want my voice to be in my story, right? For someone to not feel like it's just them.
Yeah.
And then maybe to bring awareness, right? Mm-hmm. Someone themselves are probably stuck in that cloud of cycle and they might have been there for 10 years and be like, this is not abusive because he's not punching holes in my face. No, that's still abuse. If you say no to sex and they don't give a rat's tail, that's abuse. If he's shoving you into walls, it's abuse. If he's literally purposefully sitting on his behind and not seeking work and letting you do it, that is financial abuse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then
I didn't even think about
that.
I didn't think, like, you always think of abuse and you think
punching and
everything,
yeah.
But there's financial abuse, there's verbal abuse, there's a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm going to go educate myself, learn from you and other people going through it who have educated themselves about what it's like.
Yeah.
Because I'll never understand because I've never been in your shoes, but I want to learn more so that I can educate people and I can see the signs of if a friend or family is going through that as well, to make sure I step up and say something.
Well, one last thing too, like friends and family are super important, right? Like if you have everybody around you that kind of like agrees with you on the things that you do, if everybody's pretty like complimentary of your life, unless you're like super successful doing all the amazing things in the world and you're like Gandhi, you need to change it up a bit.
Yeah.
Right? Because if it wasn't for some of my friends, like, stop making excuses for him, like, there's this, that, and the third, like, pointing out certain things, I maybe would not have stepped into a light of looking for help, right? But also having that mentor, right? Like, my neighbor became a mentor for me. Like, I vented with her. She invited me to church, and fast forward, this is how we got there. And she's the one that like really recognized piece of that too and got me hooked up with my therapist, and my therapist kind of like woke me up, and it was a cycle.
Good. I'm glad. So yeah, but thank you again for coming to speak, and I hope to have you on again, and please, anyone reach out to me or Jamisha to be able to share your story and talk to someone who truly understands. So, yeah. Thank you.